attending our first quarterly software conference. This is something I hope to make a regular quarterly event. The intention of this isn't to be a training session, but more an introduction of new programming that was completed, where if it is applicable to your business, we'll have the training videos, documents, and training sessions available for you if you want to implement it for your business. Throughout the meeting, if you have any questions, Zoom has the chat feature where you can type in notes and we can review those questions. And also we'll answer the questions at the end of the meeting. Here's kind of a outline of what we'll be covering. We'll be going over the new inventory purchase bill of material updates. And then Julianne will be going over different dynamic menus, and I'll be reviewing barcode tracking and production schedule updates. And then we'll go over some just miscellaneous dealer updates that have been applied. And then I'll also go over a new entry door module, which is specifically developed for like the steel and fiberglass entry door market. And then we'll go over a couple just miscellaneous items that have been completed that may be applicable for some of your businesses. So I'll go ahead and get started. So once again, this won't be a formal training session, just more of an introductory conference. We have training videos up here in the upper right-hand corner. And so you can see in the last 6 days, we've posted about 6 different training videos with more details on these items, and a couple more training videos will be filmed here this week. Okay, so I'm going to get started on the inventory updates that have been applied. And these updates, they're not necessarily my ideas or Julianne's ideas, they're ideas from all of you, and we've tried to implement them and make the software work best for your business. So I'll get started under setup, inventory items right here. You'll see a new inventory list page. The columns have been changed. We're now displaying the on-hand quantity on this page, and you'll see an image right here. So you have the ability to upload images for each inventory item. Up here in the upper right, upper area, header area, we now have 2 search criteria. So you could search by 2 different criteria. Like if you wanted to search by supplier and then category, you would have that ability. It defaults to internal number and then supplier over here. Previously, in order to delete inventory items, you had to click the red delete button, type delete, click menu, delete. Very time consuming. Now we have a bulk delete feature. So you could select multiple items like these ones right here, and click menu, action, delete. Oh, and if it's something is an active purchase order, it will not allow it to be deleted. But the idea is you can do a bulk delete of inventory items. Also in the software, if you were adding new products, you had to go in and assign inventory rules to those items. Let me see if I can find an item here. So like here, you can see 200 units have been selected, but if you added a new product to the software, you had to go through each of these inventory rules and then find them, or just simply click check all. So it's very time consuming. But now you can, simply just click check all right there, click menu, action, assign rules. And so if you, down below right here, if you had the all button, you could have just assigned the inventory rules to all the inventory items very quickly. So what used to take forever when we were on site doing software implementations now happens very quickly. Let me see if I can find that one. Paint door. So you can see here, it assigned the rules to all the items. Okay, I will now search for my test inventory item here. We'll click the blue details button right here. The first thing I want to show you is the image upload. So you can click this icon right here, and then you can upload your image file. And that can be a PNG, JPEG, or GIF file. When an image is uploaded, this red delete button appears. So that's how you can delete the image if you want to. The biggest change to the inventory system is previously when an order was moved from open orders to active orders, inventory was physically reduced. Now, when an order is marked as reviewed under open order, so when REV is switched from a red no to a green yes, we are now allocating that inventory. And then you have the ability to choose when inventory is actually physically reduced under setup, settings, and production. So right here, reduce inventory. So we have 4 situations where you can choose when inventory is removed from allocated and on hand. And that could be when you download the production file, or when the packing list is sent to the dealer, or when the order is marked as shipped, or when it is invoiced. So this allows you to better time your physical inventory reduction. So what we have here now on the inventory item page is the on-hand quantity. That's physically what you have in your shop. On order, this is everything that you have an open purchase order for that you have not yet received. The quantity allocated, so that occurs when you review it, and then the balance. So this balance is equal to on hand plus on order minus allocated equals the balance. The alert buffer is the balance minus the alert quantity that you set for that inventory item. And we are now storing every bill of material in the database. So with this, we can calculate your average daily usage over a 90-day business period. And then with this, we can use predictive analytics to estimate when you will hit your alert date. So basically the date when you need to place a purchase order by. We're giving you a lot of good data here, and the inventory is now being timed more accurately. Additional updates are the notes have been moved here. And then if we scroll down, we added 3 tables here with open purchase orders. These are showing all purchase orders that you have not yet received. So we're showing the PO number, PO date, the estimated receive date, status, quantity ordered, quantity received, balance, dollar value, and who it was ordered by. Then right here is the purchase order history. This is showing the full history of POs for this inventory item. And then right here under allocation, we are showing all orders that have this inventory item currently allocated for it. So you can see all this information. You'll notice each of these has a gray highlight because throughout the software in this update, we've added a lot of direct hyperlinks with new tabs. So you click it and it will open up in a new tab that PO. Likewise for the PO history. And then for the allocation, if you click it, it will open up the order details page. And then you can see the PO right there. So if I go to supply chain, then inventory, on this page, we're now loading this defaulted selected internal number with the cursor in there. So if you want to search for inventory with barcode scanning, you now have that ability. We're showing the same items that were on that previous page, but this would show it for the entire supplier if we search by a supplier category. on hand, on order, allocated, balance. And once again, if you click the on order or allocated value, it will show you which POs you have this item on order for, and then which orders the item's currently allocated. Also, if you mouse over the inventory item, it'll have the notes. And then if you click the internal number, it'll open up that inventory item. With this, we also updated the Excel file for doing, bulk updates or your cycle counts. So this is showing the H column is the column that you can manually edit and then import in to update the on-hand quantity. Like if you wanted to do a count for a whole category or supplier. But you can see we're showing the allocated, on order, balance, buffers, estimated date, average daily usage. So with this, if you want to find out your average daily usage by category or supplier, all this data would be populated down here for all of your items. And then also notes are displaying it here. So there's about 15 new columns on this file. All right. Additional updates I mentioned I'll go over is purchase orders. The thing I wanted to show here is the ability to directly link a PO to an order. So this is important for items that you order on a just-in-time basis, like glass, screens, maybe some specialty hardware. With this, you can, right here under orders, here's a list of all of your open and active orders. You can select a certain PO right there, and then, or certain order. So you're linking this PO to this order. We could put in test notes for demo. And we'll click save right there, and let's go ahead and submit it. So with this, on the purchase order page, you can see order 504 has been linked to this PO. And if I click that 504, that'll open up the order details page. And then right here is that PO right there. So you can quickly see all of the different POs, because typically these are the bottlenecks in your production. You're waiting on glass, you're waiting on some sort of outside vendor for those just-in-time items. So you can see the PO date, estimated date, receive date, status, and notes, and you can click the notes, and you have the ability to edit the notes if you want to. So, and if you click this hyperlink, it'll open up that PO. So once again, a lot of hyperlinking has been created. On the bill of materials setup right here, we added some filters that one of our customers came up with some good ideas for. So like if you add an item right here, you'll add it to a section, you'll select a supplier, and then you could select like a category. Also, I'll say aluminum, and you'll see these 3 items. So it's filtering based upon the category. If I say door hardware, now I have these 8 or so items. And so just some simple filtering right there. And then once again, if you are working on bill of materials and maybe something isn't coming out correctly, you can click on that item, and then you can go to inventory rules and then modify those rules right there. So once again, a lot of good hyperlinking has been added into the software. I think that's everything I wanted to show on the inventory updates in the bill of material and purchase order. So now Julianne will take over and go over dynamic menus. And this is a nice update that allows you to personalize the software for how you want to present it to your customers. So.
All right. Well, as Paul mentioned, the dynamic control menus allow you to change how your customers are going to see the items they want to select on the order screen during order entry. So to begin, you're going to go to
Julianne,
this product.
can you show your other screen? You're showing a Word document there.
Oh, am I? Sorry about that. Stop that. Bring this over. Is that better?
Yep, that's good.
Okay, sorry about that. All right. So the dynamic menus allow you to make adjustments to how you're going to word something, because the way we have it worded in WDQ may not be how you refer to an item. So to start, you're going to go to product series and you're going to edit the series. And in here, down here under series configurations, this is where you can change the display name. So we have the description of the display name that's currently there. This is just what's been pre-programmed. You can then change that name. So like I did a few here to say like glass makeup. Yes. And you can also make these active or inactive if you don't want that to display. So obviously we want color on our windows to display, but if you didn't offer like a two-tone interior exterior, you could turn one of these off and change this to just say color. Same thing with the glass. One of the things we've been asked a lot about is preserve and neat. Unless you're a Cardinal representative using their glass, you probably don't know what this is. It's unique to Cardinal, and a lot of people have asked about being able to turn that off, and you now can turn that off. So you just simply change it to no. Any of these items that you use, but you want to keep the description that's already there, you just simply keep it on yes, and you just don't rename the field. It'll just pull back to the description. And again, going through options, if for this particular series, you don't offer like interior trim or exterior trim, you can turn those off, and then those won't be displayed for your customer to select. We also have now a hardware A, B, and C. This allows you to set up things like your standard hardware, and then you can have like additional hardware, like foot bolts or vent stops. Anything that's like unique that can be ordered individually, that's not always included on the order, you can put here. And then going down into, we have this detailed hardware. This is more for like doors when you're having to select discussions, handles, locks based on different criteria, and it will filter out those criteria. So we'll get into that a little bit more a little bit later. But for now, if you have these on yes, because some of the units in this series might use detailed, they're only going to see the detailed hardware on the order screen for the units that have detailed hardware selected. So for this, we're going to go ahead. This was the glass series. But I have some preset up. So I wanted to show you this. So on our casement units, so as you can see, I have preserve and I have neat turned off. And I have hardware A as hardware finish, standard locks for hardware B or secondary locks, and hinges for hardware C. And you'll also notice I have detailed hardware left on, and I didn't change those descriptions. So then when I go to my other screen here, this is the first casement that I entered. And you can see now that the glass options for preserve and neat aren't even in here. The hardware finish, secondary lock, and hinges are showing, and the detailed hardware is not, because I did not select this unit to have detailed hardware. And I'll show you in a minute where that was selected. So in this one, this is a casement that I set up with detailed hardware. And again, you can see still no glass because it's in that same series. And now for this one, the other hardware is not shown. It's just the detailed hardware that's shown. And to set up standard or detailed hardware, you do that on the actual casement unit line, product line. And it's right here under hardware set. Yes, you pick either standard or detail. And then make sure you set up your rows where they will display. Okay, so that's one of the many changes we made. In addition to that, we also have the ability now to change how we show our quote defaults. So these are what's set up when you first start an order that the customer will see. One thing that I've been asked for several times is to get rid of the quote timeline and probability. If you're not using that to track like your quote timelines, and if it's like how often you're going to get that quote or not, if you're not tracking that kind of information, you can just shut that off. So then when you go to enter an order, that will just come, you won't see that displayed. Next is you can check like just your different groups. And again, you can rename how you want to see it. So for quote type, this is like your quote method. You can pick either standard or quick. For most people, once you get started, I would stay on standard, but then once you get used to it, you go to quick. But you can still change that either way once you get into the screen. Here you'll have your interior finish, exterior finish. So if you have one section or one product series that only has one color, and then another product series that has another color where you can do two-tone, you're still going to set these up for the majority rule. And over here, you can select the defaults that you want the color to be when you first select the unit. Going further through this list, you can just kind of see what you can turn on, turn off. You really have that ability. If you don't have special balances, you can turn that off. Pretty much that's it for the quote defaults. And then if you go to group changes, so when you're on an order and you want to make several changes at once, this allows you to do that, and you can choose what your customer is able to select as a group change. So like alternate series here is turned off, but the interior finish, they can change. So that means when they come in here, we can go to group changes, and we can select the units that we want to make changes to. And you'll notice that my finish is here, but the other option that I turned off was not there for the alternate series. Okay, let me grab this real quick. So in addition to those dynamic changes, we do have the production dynamic changes as well. And those are controlled over here. So we can choose what we want to see on our production reports. If we want to show the glass, the screens, the medium rail. And in addition, we can show in the production report line details just by activating or inactivating. And again, you can make that display name what you want to see. There's an update coming on this horizontal and vertical mullion where it will actually display the mullion name rather than just the generic horizontal mullion or mullion. All right. Over here, you can select on your production if you want the cut length in fraction or decimal, and the production length format in fraction or decimal. And as Paul mentioned, here's where you pick the reduced inventory. This is the non-optimized cut factor that you can input. And then down here is some order columns. So this is the next section we're going to get into. So one of the other changes is controlling the active and open order screens and what's visible on that screen. So a lot of you wanted to be able to see some detail on your order screen. So if we go to active orders, for example, you can see now that we're displaying the unit counts for different product lines, and you're able to select up to 5 different product lines. Go back here. One second. So to do that, you select here the series you want to see. So for example, if I wanted to see my casement line and all the unit counts on that, then I would just update this. And then we go back to that active orders page. Now you can see that's my first category. So you can put these in order in the way you want to see them. And again, you can select up to 5, and then all the additional units that are outside of these 5 will just be put into this other category. So next, so to move orders over from active to completed, you would simply check this and go menu complete order. So you'll notice that now we no longer show the pack slip, the ship to, and the invoice columns. These have been moved to the completed order section. And we did that so we could have more menu display options here. Also, you'll see we have this production right here, which is a percentage of completion. And Paul will discuss that in a little bit. But you have the ability basically to just change all these. And we do have some upcoming programming as well, which I will show you. So with the upcoming programming, we're going to have some further abilities to change how we see our product. And I'm just reading that file real quick. So on your open orders and your active orders, if you wanted to see different options like the order date or the ship date, revenue, cost, sales rep, any of those, you can choose what you want to see on your open order screen. And again, you have up to 5 options. You can make them active or inactive. And then we also have for the active order screen, what you would want to see on that screen. So that gives you more quick glance availability to see what's going on with these orders, like how many units, if they're what the sales revenue is, who the sales rep was. It just gives you a quick view right at the beginning. All right. And then the way it will display. So on active orders, it will show up basically in between these groups. All right. So moving on. That's pretty much all I had for these areas, and I will hand it back over to Palmer.
All right, thank you, Julian. So yeah, as she mentioned, we'll be adding additional dynamic controls. So you can choose what items you want to see. We received some feedback from some customers that they missed seeing like the revenue and all that. So we're gonna add that dynamic control. And on the dealer side of the software, we will also under active orders, Julian mentioned that percent of completion. We'll be displaying the percent of completion on the dealer side. So in real time, as you're doing barcode scanning, the dealer can see what percent of completion that order is. So they don't have to send you or emails or phone calls asking about it. Okay. So I will be going over updates to barcode tracking. So the big thing you'll notice right here is the percent of completion. As we are scanning orders, tasks are being marked from not completed to completed right here. And so to figure out what percent that represents, we've added a weighted point value for each task. So under setup, production, tracking, then tasks, here's our different tasks right here. Here we have a point value. So you can assign a point value of 1 to 100 for each task. And then we know how many tasks there are in the order of each type. And then we're simply summing up the total point value for that order. And then as those tasks are completed, that gives us our percent of completion. There are 2 cycle types. There's a single scan. That's where you just scan it one time and it goes from red to green. Then we have a start and complete scan type. That's where you scan it one time, it marks it started, so then it displays as yellow on this page. And when we have that, let's pretend this point total right here is 15. With the start and complete cycle type, it will allocate 7.5 points, so half of the 15. And then when you scan it a second time for the complete scan, it'll allocate the remaining 7.5 points. So I'll go ahead and do a scan right here. So this is the paint scan, and we'll do it for this unit right here. I'll scan it. And you'll notice this one, it takes about maybe 8 seconds or so for it to load, because this one is a scan type of scan and data. So some people haven't been using the barcode scanning because that scan was slow, and they really didn't even care about any of this information. So we're loading a ton of information here, like cut lists, images, notes, all the data. All that data takes time. So to resolve this, we created a scan type called scan only. So when we do a scan only, so I'll change this to a scan only, and we'll do it for this unit right here. You will see the time difference here. So 8 seconds versus 1 second or a half second. So like people in shipping or just departments where you don't care about that data because you're using cut lists or something else, this is how we boosted the efficiency in the scan time right there. So if I click refresh on this page, you can see these 2 scans have been completed. And now if I go to the active orders page, you can see now we are at 18% completion. And as the percents of completion change, the color background changes. So we have it where it's 0 to I believe 33%, it's a orange, or 1 to 33%, it's an orange background, 0 is red. Then it switches to a yellow right there. So we'll go ahead and complete a couple more scans here. So
I'm sorry, Paul, can I ask, this is going to sound pretty ignorant, but is this something that you and Julianne have been working on with Thomas or Alex?
No.
Or is this a potential development area?
This is for everybody. So, but yeah, if you guys could just we'll put the questions in the chat area. So here's one, ETM, the revenue columns for open. I hope to complete that by tomorrow, and then Matt, we can upload your site probably even on Friday, and that'll have that new dynamic programming there. So I'm just I just wanted to show you how the colors change on this page. So we did 2 more scans. So it went from an orange to a yellow right there. You'll notice on here we have a fabrication scan, how it's only for this unit and this unit right here, but not that unit. And that's because if we go to the fabrication tests, I added a rule just for testing purposes where it says accessory equals pink. So that accessory is only assigned to that unit. So we've now added rules to determine if a task occurs. And then you can also assign if a task is even available for a unit. So here is this hardware task. And you can see our one order only contains this window. It's not available for that window type. So if I go to here, you can see there's no available hardware tasks, and there's no fabrication task for those because the rules weren't satisfied or it wasn't available. So like if you have a picture window, it's not going to have a hardware task. So because of this, it's not going to allocate those 10 points. So it's properly doing the addition and division that way to get the accurate percent of completion. On the barcode tracking site, we've added the tracker link right here so you can select the order with that. So you can see all the different tasks. Then we've also added production calendars. So production employees can get read-only access to the production schedules. So they can see that right there. And then we've also added, we just cleaned up the code on here, did some code optimization, removed bugs, things like that in the software. And then we've added an agenda view, so you can just see a quick agenda view by order or by production line, etc. So also on here, you can see different notes. So if I go back to day view, go here. So under production, schedule, tasks, you can assign, we have these default notes, and each default note contains values. Like the shipping one would have like the shipping address, contact, phone number. So that information will display in the calendar right here. So like the paint one, it displays everything from the paint report, like what part number, interior color, exterior color, and then the quantities are right there. And then you can also type in notes below per task. So that's a new feature right there. The third update I want to show you on the production portal is an internal library where you can post under setup library right here. You can have your own internal training library. So like if you wanted to create a training video or a document on how to operate a 2-point welder, or how to clean a glue machine, you can post those videos, and then your employees would have access to them, and they would be able to see those videos right there. So, many companies have high turnover. This would be a way to, when you're training them initially, give them access to a lot of good information. So that's kind of the updates on barcode tracking and production schedule. And a lot of this data I just showed you goes into an order details page. So if we go to orders, active orders, if we click this blue details button right here, that'll take us to the order details page. We've made this page become a central hub of manufacturing that contains the basic order details and everything for your supply chain. So on here, you can, this table's existed for a while right here. You can edit notes, see if there's any issues, mark orders as, or line items as shipped. You have the ability under order actions to do remakes and back orders, etc. But down below right here, we created an internal message board. So we've always had the order notes, which is just one large note, but here you can create an internal message board, so we'll just say. And then you also have the ability to upload like a file or an image, Word document. You just click out of it, and then it will save it. So it records the date and time, who the user was, the notes, and then anyone that has access to this page can click here and see what the file is. And then someone can respond right here and type in their response. They can also put that in. So it just becomes a nice central communication point versus having loose text messages or emails or over Skype or WhatsApp, just one central point for your company for order details. As I mentioned before, all POs that are directly linked to the order appear here on the orders details page. And I'll pull up a different order here. That production schedule I was showing you populates the production times on a Gantt chart right here. So if you're utilizing production schedule, that data is transferred over to here, and you can see how things are scheduled in real time. So if I go to production schedule, building A, I'll just go to tomorrow or yesterday. And let's say I move the glass back up to say 8 a.m. I'll click save. So if we look at the production schedule right now, glass is at 11:30 a.m. If I click refresh, you can see glass. Well, it even moved up here because of how the Gantt chart functions, but you can how it responds in real time. All right, then down below right here, I showed you earlier how as you're doing barcode tracking, it's updating right here. So you can see how things are scheduled and then the real-time status of those tasks. And sometimes people make an error and scan the wrong item. So a new feature we added to the barcode tracking is the ability to revert a task. So you can click the green button right there and you click revert, and it will switch that back to red. And at the same time, it'll also update the percentage of completion by reducing that percent of completion. And then down below right here is material summary from the bill of materials. We're showing all items that are used to produce that order. Each column has sorts, so you can sort by supplier, by type, etc. And once again, if you click an item, here's my test item, it'll open up a new tab to that inventory item. Okay. So I showed you the order details page. Now we've created also a quote details page. So if you go over here and click details, we are now showing the line item information right here. Let me find one that maybe has more line items. So you can see right here all the different line items, and any line, now you have the ability to individually edit line pricing from the admin side. Before, for a dealer, you could do a dealer cost adjustment, which is just a lump sum adjustment to an overall quote, or you could change that dealer's multiplier for the overall quote. But now you have the ability to change the dealer cost or also the customer price from the admin side on a line level. So if I click this item right here, click menu, price adjustment, we can change the customer price to $4,000. We'll change the dealer cost to $3,000. And then you can type in notes right here related to it. And over here, I'll calculate the quote difference. So this is our calculated price, and then this is the adjusted price. And so then this is adjusted minus calculated right there. Then when you click out of it, it'll automatically save. So click save. And then if I open up the quote right here, you can see the revenue source for this quote was customer price. So you can see the unit price there. And if I click dealer cost, you can see the cost, the unit cost has been updated, then the line cost has been updated right there. So this gives you the ability to basically maximize your profits or to help close deals on a line-by-line basis. So since we're on the dealer side of the software, I'll have Julianne start going over changes that we made to the quote list page right here.
Okay. So now we're on their quote list page. And I've got one already up. And as you can see on this quote list page, it's giving us our square footage per unit on a line by line basis. So this is for the individual unit. And then at the very bottom, very long quote, you'll see the total square footage of the project. Further to go into this, so I had this quote up because as you can see here, we have some shaped units where we were not able to before put in grid options or grill options. Now we can. So it can select vertical or horizontal on shaped units. The only unit that can use a hub and spoke design are the half rounds. And then I wanted to show that the pricing methods on this, you can change these to be by grill opening, to be by the grill inch, or by the grill square footage, which uses the glass dimensions that you input on your series page. So if I change this one to square feet, let me save that. I can come down here. If you're doing list price, this isn't available on the cost plus, but for list price, you can see on the price details here is the grill by square foot. So I had this grill set up at $1 per square foot. Then if I change it to opening, I had it set at $2.50 per opening. So you can see now it's only charging the $10 because there's 4 sections. And then the same is true if it's by the square or the grill itch. One of the other things wanted to show on this. So as I mentioned on the grills, there are some grills that still are not quite correct. And I'll show you an example of this right here. So on some of the shapes like eyebrows, our system cannot figure the grill where it stops and ends because it's using like a whole square footage. So what you can do, however, is update this image. So we don't like this image and we have one of our own that we can use. We just hit select and then we're going to come down to here. And we're going to import our own image. And when we hit save, then you can see the image that I created is now here. So that just kind of cleans up the grills so you have a better image. And you can do this with anything. It just needs to be a JPEG or PNG file. If you don't see the image resave, then that means your file could be too big. You just need to adjust the file size, make it a little bit smaller. Then once you save and close, you'll still see that on your order page, and that image is what will print out on your quote. So you can see that's been updated. The other thing we can do is you can choose whether or not the grill is in the top, bottom, or both, which we were having a little bit of a bug on before, and that's now created. So to do that, we would just come up here. So unit 1.1 is the bottom when you're talking like a single hung or double hung unit, and 1.2 would be your top. So if we didn't want any of the bottom, but we wanted the top, we just switch it around. And now we have it just in the top. So that kind of takes care of some of the grills. That was a lot of programming that had to be done. Some things still obviously need a little bit of work on, but again, you're able to upload your own image. So the other thing we did is we created a square foot pricing method for screens. So let me come over here. So you can set screens up in 2 areas. So one on your series page. Down here, you have the ability to do it by square foot or by unit, and this is just for the screen frame. And then for the different meshes, you can also set this up now to be by either square foot or, excuse me, united inch or square feet. And this is just for the mesh. Some other programming that's been done is we changed from here. We've now increased our menu options. We removed jam extensions from the interior trim. So interior trim is now its own category. You can use that for different options like anchoring brackets or casing. And you can also then have your jam extensions on its own. In jam extensions, you would set up separately then from the interior trim. We've also updated, as we had mentioned earlier, on the hardware. So now you'll see hardware A, B, and C. And again, that's where you can choose on that dynamic menu page what you want your hardware to be. So like A would be our finishes, B would be like our kick locks, vent stops, anything different. C for people that are using hinges on their doors and they need to be able to call out hinges, then we can use those kind of areas to program the hardware. And then one thing to note for anyone doing this is as we're moving everyone over into the new programming, your hardware that used to be in the hardware section will automatically be put into hardware A group. If you're using it and decide you want to use it for other things and you want to use B and C, just make sure that you're updating your bill of materials and your inventory rules. Next thing we did, this was a request from one of our customers, is on our steel entry doors. The ability, not just steel, but the ability to move the lockbox location. So to do that, I'm going to show you these quotes. So here you can see this is one of our entry doors with the lockbox. So there's a distance that you can select from the bottom of the door to where the lockbox starts, the length of the lockbox, and the width of the lockbox. If your lockbox goes the entire door size, then you're just going to set your lockbox height to be more than your door height. You can see now that the lockbox is, well, we would need to change this dimension too. Okay, Paul, maybe that's something I need to work on. But you should be able to change it and it will change your lockbox so that this is in the rail right in here. And we'll get that figured out. So next is on the shapes. Before we were
Change
only
your distance from the bottom.
to like the door size.
You can just put 0. It doesn't really put 0 there.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. So as you can see, if you want a full length lockbox, put your distance from the bottom to 0, the lockbox height greater than your door height, and then whatever the width of that lockbox you want.
Yeah, and this is
So
just
3 should work now.
this is just steel door specific with their real narrow styles.
Right. Okay. The other thing is on our shapes. Let me show you this. So on our octagon, it used to be an equal octagon. You couldn't have an oblong octagon. So now you're able to adjust the size here. So you can make it either equalite or so I've updated that image. The other programming we did is, so we had this request from a customer. If you want to use it, some customers might like it, but you have the ability to let your customers see the bill of materials. To do that, you go into the dealer setup page. Give me 1 second. So you go first to the details. So down in here, you would turn this production file on to yes. And then on the dealer side, let's open up their site now. If we go to their active orders, whenever a production file has been processed, it turns to the screen yes. And that's when they have ability to see the production file. So they would just check mark this, go to menu, production file, and download existing. And then they'll be able to see basically the production file that is printed out for everyone, but it has, wherever there was pricing, there will be no pricing shown on this. So they would have all the content of this production file. So that's good for, like, we have a few customers who are selling to other customers that are building their product. And this just gives them all that detail. And that's what I have for now. Paul, back to you.
Okay. A couple other things on this orders detail page. We're also displaying the installation type right here, and then notes. So if there are notes, it'll display if there's quote notes and internal notes right there. And then one of our customers had a question about having a quote where you can hide line pricing. So under account, then pricing, you can set the default to method to display or not display line pricing right there. So every quote when you start one will default to that. But on a quote by quote basis, you can change it by going to the quote info page and display unit line pricing. So I can click that to no, and then save and close. So it'll hide the line pricing. Then you just have the lump sum total. And in the previous quarter, we made large updates to this pricing page so that you can edit the location, quantity. You can manually type in the exact price that you want. You can change the multiplier here, or even change the pricing via a markup percentage. So, Julianne, did you go over the installation change in styles and rails?
No, not yet. That's next on mine after your module,
Okay.
your entry door.
All right. So I'm going to go over a whole new module for like steel and entry doors. This is an offshoot of our storefront programming. So there's a new series called right here. It's called entry door right there. And this has a custom series setup page where you can set up your different jam profiles. And here's where you can set up your different sills. Based upon the different sills you have, you can create a link to the different hinges, because certain hinges cannot be used on outswing doors because of different security features, or maybe they have to be stainless steel. And then on the product setup page for here, we have an area to upload images for each door slab. So you can do like a 6-panel or a cottage or different ones. So then it's creating a nice scaled image. It's not skewing one stock image in that way. So I'm going to just simply show you some of this. This one right here, it's somewhat time consuming to set up, but I'll just do a quick demo of it here. So here's an example of one where we're showing a unit with side lights, 2 side lights, and then a cottage door right there. So to create a line item, you just go to door, select the series, and then you can say that right there, number wide 2. So typically in the entry door industry, you're using call sizes or just the slab sizes. It's always stock sizes. So with this, it's common to use pull down menus for stock sizes. Let's say I wanted to make this one a side light right there. And so instead of inputting in my overall frame width and height, I can just leave those blank. And then based upon the daylight opening dimensions, the system will calculate out the overall frame size based upon the slab size and that side light. Or if you have custom size slabs and wanted to use this module, you could type in the overall frame width and height, then leave these values blank for non-standard size items, and it'll calculate the slab size and the side light size in real time. So it's unique where it can function both ways. From a production standpoint, the software will calculate all of your cut lists for the different mole posts, jambs, frames, sills, stiles, rails, everything, just like it does for your regular windows and doors. The sequence down below right here, we have a sill selection, and on that setup page, you can upload your different sill types. Then we have a hinge selection right there. So I'd encourage you, everyone, to upload images for the image selection. And then we have your detailed hardware selection, where we have 4 different options of no prep, double bore prep, custom prep, handle set and lock. If you select handle set and lock, then you go through the guided selling selection process there. So from a user standpoint, it functions very similarly to quoting windows and doors. It's just a module created for the entry door market. It allows us to go after like the lumber yards with their door shops. And we have we hired a graphic designer, and they created an entire library of all the different door slab images. So we have about 40 different images in those different size configurations for like 4 panels, 6 panels, shakers, modern ones, all that stuff. So just here. Okay. So that's the entry door module. Once again, there's training videos on it, but if it's something that you're interested in setting up, let's schedule training sessions on it. I can provide you the images and the different collateral for it and help you get that set up. This right here only uses the cost plus pricing method instead of the list price. With that, you always know what your gross margin percents will be. So now, there's one thing I forgot in the agenda that I wanted to cover. I saw this when I was just looking at the entry door thing. This was also completed this quarter. Let's go here. We added this entire table right here where you have the IG thickness for each IG for this unit based upon the glass mill thickness right here. So you can input in all the different IG thicknesses right there. So you can see here, I have a couple inputted. So this is important because some people have different glazing stops or different glazing gaskets as the IG thickness changes based upon the glass mill thickness. So like before, all we had was just a double pane IG thickness value and a triple pane IG thickness value. now we have IG thickness values for double panes, triple panes per glass package based upon the glass mill thickness. So to fill this all out would take some time right here. You can see I have a couple values filled in. So once you fill out one within that series, you can just go to another product. You can see this one, the values are 0, and I can select another product that's already been set up, and then it will populate those values automatically right there. So take you a little time to set up that first one, but then you can go through there and set up or quickly just import in the values from those other ones. Okay, so I will hand it off to Julianne, where she's going to talk about some dynamic styles and rails installation and a couple other just miscellaneous updates. And then if you have any more questions, send them in chat and we'll answer those before the end of the meeting here. And also, we're recording this session and we'll post it to YouTube. So if there's someone that missed it that wanted to see it, they can view it. Thank you.
Okay, so a few of the additional things that we made in this past quarter is the ability to show style and rail on your doors. So if you change this to yes, when you come to your door, let me go in this way. You can see now that the style and rails are intersecting. Whereas on the other version, if the answer is no, then your styles and rails are not intersecting. To set that up, again, you just go to your product setup page and just turn that on or off. So that's for style and rails.
Also with that, you can dynamically control the bottom rail, top rail, and style dimensions, because a lot of different doors, especially in the wood industry, they have different dimensions between the style and top rail. So we added that ability for you to customize that.
So like if you want, like we have a few customers that have like different kick sizes, like a 10-inch kick, you can add that. And then that would change your door look. So for example, this one here, let's make this 10-inch. And then if we go into that quote, you can see now that that changed. So it has a larger kit. The other thing we did is, so for installation on the dealer side, so now when they set up installation, there's just one section. You don't differentiate between windows and doors. It's just all set up here. To do that, you'd start here and click this box. And then you could just type in that it's a window. Spell that too. Window installation. And you can select the different options on how you want to price it out. You put in revenue and your cost. And then if you had another one for doors, you could just put door installation. And again, you can put in your revenue and cost and base it on how you want to use the unit of measure. And then down here, you can create rules on how these, like if the unit width is greater than a certain size, you want to increase the price by 25%. You could put that multiplier in here as 1.25 if the door width is greater than, say, 60 for the window.
And the reason why we remove the separation of window and door installation is because we've been adding these new series types like storefront and entry door. it became too cumbersome to manage, whereas here you're free to set up and define each installation type under one, so it's much easier for the dealers to manage.
And then how the installation displays, again, is based on how you answer these questions over here. Whether or not it's itemized by line, blended, itemized by order, and then make sure you have this turned on if you want to show that. So that's installation. The other things we're adding, well, one thing we're adding, it's almost ready, is we had the request for a top hung screen. So if you're for like a patio door, so if it's rolling across the top, then you'd be like a
That's
top
ready
hung
if you want to
screen.
show it on the admin side.
Oh, is it now?
Yeah,
Okay.
same thing with the min max stuff.
Cool. Yeah, and I just set up the amendments. So on your product, let's go ahead and open this up. So down here, first on your min max, so we now have the ability to go out to 4 digits. I've had a few customers where this has been an issue. So if your max or your min width is a 18.875, you can do that. If your max height is 50 and 13/16 or 11/16, you can do that. So now you have the ability to change this and it's not on the whole increment. The other thing on the screen. So, was it set up under top hunting? So that's where you would find your top hunting screen. And again, that's once you have the update. A couple other things, we had customer request a special label. We call it the 8x1 label. Let me get the example for you. That's really a nice looking label. I think it's probably going to replace a bunch of people's labels. So this was the design. So it's an 8" by 1". And it just gives all the information of the product. So it gives you the same information as some of the other labels, your order number, line, unit, top, bottom, and it gives you your size. And so it gives you your frame width and height in this box, your sash width and height in this box, and then your IG2 and your IG1. So remember, IG1 is your bottom, IG2 is your top. And this is for mainly for single hungs. And I believe this can be used for awnings too. Is that correct, Paul? Like awnings and casements?
Yeah, any
Yeah.
product with single sashes or
Single.
where the sashes are always the same size.
Okay. And then it just gives you your hardware and your accessory. If there's an image that would upload here and any notes that you have on the order. And then here's the example of one that we have for an order currently. So as you can see, there was a separate information. So those are not filled out. And there's no notes. Lastly, for QuickBooks and HubSpot, we can pull those up. So for QuickBooks, this is just a overview. We have changed how it displays, the QuickBooks displays. So the invoice customer parent child structure is a little bit different now. So now it's displaying both the name of your dealer and the job name together like this. So this is how it looks in WDQ on the quote side. So you have your dealer name, your quote ID, your quote name, and when it pulls through, here's how it looks if you're set up for it to pull through at the invoice level. And then for HubSpot, that's a new one. So basically the HubSpot is, we programmed an API with HubSpot CRM which then creates the customer record in WDQ. And the way it kind of structures out looks like was here. So any notes inputted on HubSpot will appear on the notes section of the customer in WDQ. And we can send this to anyone who's interested. But basically, this is how everything would display out. Information is sent over to HubSpot. And WDQ can send back updates to HubSpot, including the quote and order information. And then basically how this is all displayed. And that's all I have. Paul.
Alrighty. Thank you, Julianne. So as I mentioned, we'll post this video to YouTube, and we hope to make this a regular quarterly event. What we plan on working on in Q3 will be some new product images for like a 6-panel and 3-panel pocketing door. A lot of different products using T-mullions, like we created with like the twin and triple single hungs, but for casements. For multi-slide and bifolds, we're going to create hard-coded layouts where you define which direction each panel is, the quantity and all that, so it can be used more for the cut lists and all that. We'll be making some updates for the storefront to display like a large image of the storefront layout within the production report. A whole new order checkout process. Instead of just being that little tiny pop-up, it'll be a full page, and you'll have the ability to define a different shipping address than the dealer or the customer information. Also, the ability to input in the overall frame size, similar to what we do with storefront, and this system will automatically calculate the individual units. So if, like you said, you had two 30-inch by 50-inch casement windows, you could just simply type in 60 by 50, and it will automatically calculate the size from there. And then you'll also have the ability to type in the brick mold to brick mold dimension, and the system will automatically calculate the unit size from that, and also the rough opening dimension. So you could type in the RO dimension, and then the system will automatically divide that out. The one I'm most excited about is adding the integrated credit card and ACH processing in the software. So in a single visit at a customer site, you can get that digitally signed contract from a customer via DocuSign on a tablet, then also accept your payment from them. Let me see here. We'll make some other smaller updates. We had a request to add sales tax go to 4 decimal places, a new pricing method, a dynamic style and rails, so you can dynamically type in the style, width, and the rail, top rail on the dealer side of the software. Glass size limits, so for each glass package, and then decorative glass and laminated glass, you can input in the min-max values for those, so it'll display an error message to the dealer, alerting like, hey, we cannot do satin etch above 20 square feet or something like that. And there's many other updates, but that's kind of a brief overview of what we hope to accomplish in Q3. And if there are any other questions, feel free to ask them. We have one here about displaying the line pricing. I'm take it they're using the sales discounts on the dealer side instead of the multiplier. So if you utilize the multiplier right here, I'll display my screen here. So if you let me first display pricing. So instead of using the, the sales discounts down here, if you want to display the actual finished pricing to the customer, you would just simply use like a multiplier, type in the price that you want it to be right here. So if you wanted to say 0.9 multiplier, it'll update it. So before that price was $4,000, now it's 2,700. So instead of doing the sales game with the different discounts and all that, if you have to show the actual line pricing for tax purposes and tax credits and all that, you need to use the multiplier. So but yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to email us and call me or Julianne or Francine, and we'll respond to those. So I thank everyone for their time today, and we'll conclude the meeting. Thank you.